just like any other well-organized and responsible student, I started preparing the night before. It took me a good 20 minutes before I started craving my well-deserved break. So I obviously opened YouTube and started scrolling. It started off fairly normal. I was looking at video songs, trailers, whatever was recommended on the homepage. But then things started to get a little questionable. And before I knew it, I was watching short documentaries on a galactic federation between the US government and an alien civilization. I had another 20 minutes and I was looking at the weirdest drag races on the internet. A school bus versus an ambulance, a tank versus a car, and whatnot. Long story short, the clock was inching closer to the 4 a.m. mark. I was probably done with 2 slides out of the 25 I had to finish, and I was halfway through a dog. Anyway, why am I telling you all of this? Well, I went through the most fundamental experience of going down a rabbit hole of the randomest videos on the internet. But our speakers have the most gripping cases for you today. Welcome to Rabbit Holes 101.
What the hell do you think you're doing? Dragging your butt through the day, selling body and soul to a bunch of bland.
Open up this can of worms and really look into each piece individually. First of all, LHOHQ has multiple links and this link is octagon.lhohq.info. So when you first arrive at this link, the page seems pretty normal. It's a plain white page with some sort of a sketch on it. It has an Illuminati eye, a horse, a sort of a barcode at the bottom, but more importantly, 2 women holding up a tapestry with the mock image of the US Homeland Security symbol. The bottom of the page reads Laughing Horses Orifice. This page, when clicked upon, leads to a series of other pages from UFO sightings, Detroit sleeper cells, to even CIA's black budget and enhanced interrogation techniques. While going through this chain of links, all you're likely to find is a bunch of plain white pages with really big words, which in fact hide even bigger secrets. It still makes us question and wonder whether all of these saw at the very beginning, with the disclaimer in it, is sourced from a 1.5-hour long video art project online called Arise, the Subgenius. That short film features a short section on mind control, which can be found on the LHOHQ website. So instead of typing in octagon lhohq.info, we arrive at a page which is green in color and flashes these octopus tentacles and some pink Russian text. Now when you click onto this page, it leads you to a series of pages involving information on some sort of a scandal. Stuff about court confessions and witnesses. But the strange thing about these pages is that they continually flash images of cartoon characters. Not just regular images, creepy images. From cult summoning circles to melted flesh on deformed faces. These pages are full of bizarre information and even more gruesome images. A few more clicks through these pages and you'll arrive at the Subgenius page. So what exactly is this Subgenius Foundation Incorporated? To put it out simply, the Subgenius Foundation Incorporated is also known as the Church of the Subgenius, which was founded pretty early on in the 1900s. It's basically a parody religion that satirizes better known belief systems and focuses on this certain person called J.R. Bob Dobbs, who is said to be a salesman in the 1950s and was revered as a prophet by this church. Basically, and then again, occasionally that funny little dancing politician meme pops up now and then. Well, moving on, you know, we see strange things in these videos, we see funny things in these videos, we see creepy things in these videos. It brings us to question what the agenda of the page is, right? What is the intent behind everything that's going on? From hundreds of threads online, some people believe that these pages are an easy access to the dark web, while others think that they're all a joke, just a couple of politics enthusiasts who have questionable tastes in art. Another honorable mention or significant mention to LHOHQ is ACDCA, Applied Chaos Dynamics Control Association. So ACDCA and LHOHQ share a common webpage together, and on this webpage you will find a bunch of physics-based research papers. And eventually going through these, rather well thought out pieces of academia, you would look over to appreciate their authors. Here's why things get interesting again, or rather concerning. Bentley Pithilial, Ambrose Nemopolis, Dagwood Engelberg, they're goofy made up names, right? Google them up and you will have yourself a bunch of LinkedIn profiles with warped images of American associates and politicians. For example, Michael Chertoff, the second United States Secretary of Homeland Security under President Bush. So the weird thing about these pages, all of these pages, is that they all contain 7 followers, no posts, and are all situated in some part of New Mexico. Which brings us to the question, why do these pages exist? They're obviously fake, right? Is all of this a joke? Do these web pages mean something? With over 10,000 backlinks, some of the most gruesome imagery, and hundreds of scandalous documents, the occasional Mickey holding up bong makes us wonder whether these pages are a joke, whether this image is there just to remind us about the fun art behind the page, or if it's there to distract us from the real reason that these pages exist. Are these pages trying to distract us from the connections between the hundreds of confessions, toxin reports, chemical disasters, and whether all of these disasters combine to build something bigger, wider, and beyond our imagination?
I think that a lot of us were fans, but much before he ever did, decades before he did, his name was thrown around in memes, so on and so forth. There was one game, Kanye Quest 3030. It was July 22nd of 2013, and a mysterious user named Phoenix uploaded this game to RPG Maker. Many people who live stream their video games, such as Kotaku, Video Game Donkey, jumped onto the bandwagon, and it seemed to be a massive success. But I think being a massive success is sort of an understatement when it comes to Kanye West. But this is where it gets interesting. So the whole plot surrounds Kanye West ending up in 3030 through a wormhole. And it's like a totalitarian state with Lil B being the ruler. And Kanye has to try. Doesn't seem like much, but let's go on. So Kanye has to walk around and encounters these random NPCs who ask him anything that he wanted. And you can reply with 5-letter words, 8-letter words, or pretty much any sort of word that you can type in. These can be sorry, anonymous, dance, sing, my name, so on and so forth. But suddenly, one particular player encountered something interesting when he typed in the word ascent. No players were visible anymore. No colors were visible anymore. The screen completely transforms to a grayscale one. And you aren't even Kanye West anymore. You're a white butterfly. And then this is shown. You're being thanked for being an open-minded person and the notification, your ascension begins now, is what is seen. And the same thing pops up in the trailer for Kanye Quest 3030, if that is what you're looking at. So what is ascensionism, and how does it bring us to Kanye Quest? It is described as a belief that's made up of two important aspects. The first is that your body is a physical part of you, and then there is a spiritual part of you, or your spirit. According to ascensionism, the soul reincarnates itself again and again till it reaches a point of self-judgment, where it tries to destroy itself by judging itself. Now, if you decide to be a good person, according to ascensionism, you have to end up destroying yourself. It also suggests that the idea of life in and of itself is extremely painful, and that everything that you have done as a soul deserves everything that ever happens to you. Now, how is all of this ever related to the game? Back to the grayscale image. Now, we have NPCs popping up every now and then asking you for random passwords, random 8-letter passwords in particular. These codes or passwords with random words prima facie that had to be entered. Something along the lines of words like Jagatai, Ayin, and Petanjali. Let's take a look at some of these words. The first one is I. The I. One that we saw right at the start at the trailer of the game. The one that came up when we googled ascensionism. Now let's take a look at the word Jagatai. So digging some research on this, you found out that Manichaeism is a religion that was propagated by Genghis Khan and one of the most prominent beliefs ever in central medieval Asia. Now what exactly is Manichaeism? As it reads, it's disturbingly similar to ascensionism and the belief that ascensionism holds. Now let's get back to this game first. If we keep playing, an NPC once asks us to continue and asks us for our possessions, which the user has no clue what it may be. Some group of players stumbled upon and found out that this only goes ahead once you enter your real name and the details of your residential address. Now, after Kanye Quest was displayed live, RPG Maker took down the original game. Nobody has access to the OG game because it's completely protected through a password. It was rumored that an original copy was floating around in the internet and could gain access to your permission without the user's permission at the end. And the information that you all gave to Kanye Quest is sent off to an ascensionism cult. Within this rabbit hole that's going on so far, another YouTuber called Psychotrip started investigating the game. One of the breakthroughs that he encountered while investigating, he encountered a Twitter account named Ascend Today, or Ascensionism Records. Scrolling through Ascensionism Records' archive of tweets, we see a lot of nonsensical phrasing and disturbing words. So Psychotrip followed them, and Ascensionism replied less than a minute later. It seemed as if Ascensionism was trying to keep its image intact, separated from everything that was going on in the Kanye Quest rabbit hole. But why the same imagery? Why the symbolism? Moreover, Psychotrip would go on to find that a lot of Ascensionism Twitter's words matched with whatever was popping up in Kanye Quest in the first place. A lot of websites were found, their Tumblr pages, record labels, everything more or less carried the same words and the same image. Now, what do all of this have in common? One name, Nick Leons. But more on him shortly. Soon it was revealed that a game named Calypso could be downloaded, which was a natural part 2 for the Kanye Quest 3030 game initially. And once you dig inside Calypso, you find only one, Nick Leons. The only person ever to be signed by Ascensionism Records publicly on their record label. And we don't even know if it's a real person or if it's an alias. For all you know, he might as well be Kanye West himself.
I clicked on a link to rotten.com libraries, purely out of curiosity. Curiosity and a rebellious mind always seeking for liberation against these restrictions posed on us. And our love for thrill and adventure is what makes us go ahead with a bad decision and click a suspicious link, right? Isn't this why we Google what we never should? What is rotten.com? How bad can it be? Well, to spoil it for all of you, Rotten.com is a shock site that was established in the year 1960 by Soylent Communications. It just has a bunch of links with innocent, deceptive titles such as Swan Dive, which leads you to the September 11 jumpers from the Twin Tower. And it has a lot more gory pictures, autopsies, terrorist attacks, mugshots, extremely disturbing. But what is Rotten.com library? It's an encyclopedia that was just to supplement this website. And after coming to this website, I was met with these suspicious little folders and a warm welcome that says, we are all in this together, but we all die alone. Click. I go to travel. What is in travel? Could it be plane hijack, plane crash videos? No, there were links with names of cities and places. Click. I go to Disneyland. What could Disneyland be? What kind of horror could it bring? It was just a review about how Walt Disney planned the park so well. He even planned the placement of waste baskets, timed garbage collection, and created their own nomenclature. Child's vomit was called protein spill. Click. I go to Paris. What can we expect here? World War I, World War II, French Revolution, Eiffel Tower construction failure? They were all there, but this was a timeline from the year 1314 to 2003. All sorts of casualties, all sorts of murders, people who rebelled against Christianity or proudly proclaimed their religion, all of them died in very gruesome ways. And did you guys know that Eiffel Tower was bombed by German SS, which was led by Adolf Hitler? Well, I don't think they succeeded. It's still there. And there was fire multiple times at the Eiffel Tower, especially that broadcast station. Click. Under the medicine folder, I come across lobotomy. What is lobotomy? It is a procedure to remove a part of your brain to treat ill thoughts that reside within you. Ill thoughts such as, of course, homosexuality, communism, atheism. Who discovered this? How did this even come about? It was a guy named Frederick Goals who decided to remove the frontal lobes of his dog just so that it would stop barking and stop being aggressive. Click. I go to cryptozoology and I come across various pictures of mermaid skeletons depicted by different cultures. They look creepy. I don't think they look angelic. This isn't what we thought they would look like. Click. I come across Taoism. Religion in modern society is being propagated in the weirdest ways. There are 2 million copies of this book, Tao of Jeet Kune Do by Bruce Lee. And there's also Tao of Pooh. Yeah, Winnie the Pooh. Tao of watercolor. Tao of security net standards and their beautification. We just want to shine light in different angles to find truth hidden somewhere in the dark. Why are we so drawn to dark humor? Is it to accept the darkness within and in the world, or are we just downplaying the darkness? Click. And there was a shocking, gory image to boost their self-esteem, or is it for social gratification? Society tells you to be brave, courageous, fearless, and just be unaffected by anything that the world poses in front of you. Surveys say that more men are into horror than women. I wonder, people may also praise athletes caught in their most embarrassing and NSFW moments that came out of a tournament or a game. These aren't the pictures, guys. It's just a representation of what it could be. My representation of what it could be. I can't show you those pictures. And click. I go to boner.com. Yeah, you heard me right. It contained the most embarrassing and humiliating videos and pictures of the public. But what is the humor in this? Why are we laughing at their failures? Why are we laughing at their stupidity? Why are we laughing at their humiliation? Is it because we don't really understand how they ended up in that situation, or why they're doing this? Or do we just feel superior that, maybe we're not that stupid after all, we are superior than them? And
the light of recent missing cases throughout the backrooms, as Viewer 101 reported, these backrooms are a dimension of a mono yellow-colored office. The term used for victims here is unclipping, a game term, which can occur anytime, anywhere. As the victim to the backrooms reported, on his way to the basement, the lift unclipped him from our reality and into the backrooms. And it took him several hours to find his way back to our world. Those who have been lucky enough and have survived have all spoken about something or someone that roamed these backrooms, which we refer to as the entity. Here's a picture by a victim. Viewer discretion is advised. The government and the press are continuously and tirelessly working to resolve the crisis. Until then, stay safe and calm. That totally scared you all, didn't it? But overall, I want you guys to have an idea of what the backrooms are. And if it were a reality, this was how it was going to sound. But I just want to ask a question. Have you guys ever gone down a rabbit hole before? I mean, at least all of you would have had a phase of curiosity to topics such as horror, serial killers, creepypastas. But why do creepypastas like that of a backroom capture our attention? So if you notice the themes of the backrooms, they're usually of places like an office, an amusement park, a pool, an airport lobby. These are places, if you can relate all these places together, these are places where human interaction and activity are at their peak. So now, when you remove the human interaction and the human touch of these places, they tend to become eerie or creepy. Let's take an example. You going to your school at midnight. You would feel nostalgia, awe, fear, or might just feel out of place. This is because we tend to tag places like our school with the day and with the hustle and bustle of school activities. But now that we're there at night, our mind, our subconscious mind, gets a jolt of reality and we start to feel uncomfortable because it's an unfamiliar scenario. Now, due to the lack of human interaction, our mind can generate fitting scenarios depending on the situation. The level of the backroom, yes, there are levels. And also the type of entity the victim can encounter. Usually those victims who are lucky enough to survive these encounters do so by eye contact, unbroken eye contact. That's because the entity is usually intimidated enough and will leave the victim alone temporarily. I repeat, temporarily. He'll come back. Back to their bed. Yeah, bed. Their nightmares and their imagination can do the worst, can come out with, concoct the worst imagery possible than that of any director's creation. And now that's why the entity becomes an integral part of this eeriness of the background. Another facet of unclipping or getting out of our reality. I know all of us want to, but yeah. Moving on. All these experiences of another reality are a very common concept. Like the dark dimension in Doctor Strange, for Potterheads, platform 9 3/4. And if you had grade 12 CBSE English, the chapter, the 3rd level, yeah, about time travel. So this is a very common concept. And the reason why our human mind is attracted to this concept of getting out of our reality is because our mind constantly craves new scenarios out of curiosity. Seems counterproductive actually. We're scared of horror movies, but we want to see this. Well, nice. Thank you, brain. But this curiosity of ours comes with a price. It can go both ways. There's an optimistic side and a dark side. Optimistically speaking, which is also dark enough, our mind tends to pursue ideals that are materialistic and egocentric. I mean, for some reason or another, these never seem to work out because those who pursued such ideals are, very well known. And the other way is the dark way, which is us creating the most gruesome, gut-wrenching scenarios possible. For anime fans, Junji. That's why rabbit holes are fascinating. They prey on our own curiosity and we make our choices to go down them. At the end, it's our own choice to light up a candle and play the Ouija board at night. It is our own choice to click on that link that says cat memes, but that can probably take you to the darkest parts of the internet. These topics will forever trigger our inner desire to know what lies out there. So I ask you guys again, have you ever wanted to go down a rabbit hole before?
flurry and cacophony of rabbit holes, there are certain criterions that demand a kernel of your imagination.
We implore you to relax on those cushioned chairs of yours and come with us on a journey born of imagination.
Imagine you've come into possession of a ticket of some sorts, a bus ticket. Naturally, this bus ticket grants you admission on the bus, and you assume your seat. And at first, everything is perfectly normal. You can see the people milling about at the exits, and yet, there's something amiss. For some reason, there's an undercurrent of unease. I can't quite place the origin of this unease, and yet, you know that something is wrong. Something about the movement of the bus, it isn't within the realms of normality.
You start to panic, just by a bit at first, but panic has this unruly tendency to build with time. You start feeling jittery and anxious, like a load of stone has dropped into your stomach. Each person who climbs onto the bus makes you feel insane with unease. But the worst of them all is there within you, with their cryptic motions and the uncommon regard you're so sure is on you.
You start seeing abominable apparitions overlay your reality. Nothing you do helps. You feel trapped. Finally, you snap. You make as if to leave, and yet, no matter how hard you try, no matter how violent you get, you simply cannot leave the bus. By some abnormality, you always end up back in your seat.
You're stuck. You can never leave. Even when the bus stops for a day, you keep moving in some ghostly vestige of it, never again to set foot into the reality you're comfortable with. You've embarked on a journey now, meant just for your eyes. What do you see? What do you fear?
This is a general account of someone who's under the manifestation of SCP-342, as documented by the SCP Foundation.
Well, what is that?
Is the greater good. Who is to decide what is good in the first place? Of course, there are certain things that we take as a fact of human nature. For example, it's not good to eat crayons. It's not right to murder for sport.
But what happens when we enter the morally grey areas of humanity? Is it okay to do drugs? Is it person to save the lives of many? Is it okay to torture you to save the lives of millions?
And what of those who get to make these decisions? Is it to be some self-aggrandizing cult of personality who sways the court of public opinion? Should it rather be a confidence man? Hitler? Stalin? Reagan? You know the type.
Well, how about not just an individual, but rather a collective? Now, you may have never heard of these people, but mark my words, they know everything about you. A shadowy organization working out of the dark to protect you from eldritch horrors, some literally beyond your imagination.
Their driving principle: to secure, to contain, and to protect. To serve from the gloom, to protect humanity. They go by several names, yet there is one that stands out among the others. They are called the SCP Foundation, and theirs is the rabbit hole that we shall venture to unearth in this talk.
All this talk of SCP-342 brings to my mind a certain particular SCP, a very unique case in itself. The very report generated by the SCP Foundation for this particular one is peculiar in its presentation. You see, it's been designed to keep agents unable to reach it by any conventional method. If a person happens to read this spell report, they are to be immediately subject to amnestic treatment without any delay whatsoever, for delay would be fatal.
Unfortunately for our dear audience, we do not currently hold such methods of inducing amnesia. You are doomed to hold on to this information for the rest of your lives. You see, SCP-2718 is not just some regular old demon or human man who's seeking to rip your heart out. Actually, I think it's better if we chronicle how this SCP came to be in the first place.
Well, over the course of SCP Foundation's history, there have been 19 anomalous methods to restore life, as discovered by the SCP. Now, all 19 of these fall within two fundamental but broad categories. First of them is replication, which is essentially cloning, and the second is temporal, that is the manipulation of time.
The crucial commonality between these two methods is that no matter how the restoration is done, there is absolutely no way for the subject to retain his memory from their time death. It's impossible. Nobody knows what happens after death. All that we have is speculation.
However, the Foundation was forced to restore the life of a previously dead overseer in order to retain information privy only to him. So the Foundation set out to reconstruct a quantum approximation of a certain Roger, physically, chemically, electrically, with sufficient accuracy that his heart would resume its beat, his synapses would fire, and his mouth would move, if brief.
The Foundation, however, outdid itself. You see, Roger was reanimated perfectly, yet at first he started sobbing, uncontrollably so, unresponsive to any touch, any stimulus at all. And yet, after an hour and a half, the expression of his face turned to one of utter serenity. Upon questioning by the Foundation, of course he returned no memories of his time dead, as was expected, and thus he was returned to his post as the overseer, and he returned to his job with perfect candor and a jubilant smile. Of course, the Foundation see the crux of the issue.
Roger started using clandestine methods to find ways to become immortal. Now, regardless of how many methods the SCP Foundation has to restore one to life, they can only do so once or twice before they reach a certain breaking point. The Foundation stretched to such an extent that he broke into an apex tier pluripotent entity's containment unit, trying to strike a deal with it.
Upon further questioning, he returned about his great anguish at the thought of ever having to experience death again. His terror was palpable. He talked how at first he languished in sweet oblivion, if only for a day, before his consciousness returned to his body in a dreamlike state.
Once again, we must call on your ability to dream. Imagine holding your breath. Imagine holding it beyond pain, beyond end. You're aware of the sun blistering your skin, the gases bursting within your innards.
Your perception seemed to increase with each passing second, painfully aware of the ants digging into your skin. As your mass, each muscle, each fiber, each sinew within your body stretching without end.
There was no heaven or hell to instill a sense of justice in his dire end. There was only banal pain for the rest of eternity. This is not punishment. This is not the result of some eldritch being's infernal desire. This is simply our
wonder they made you wipe your memories. These are but two among thousands of SCPs as have been documented by the SCP Foundation. There is an SCP about a pen that never stops leaking ink.
There's one where the very touch of the sun's light turns you into this conscious living sludge that can integrate with other such sludges.
Oh, and by the way, all the people that we've shown you so far, none of them are real.
Just in the first place. Maybe they're victims of our beloved SCP-342.
Or maybe they're an SCP all along.
I guess we'll never know.
Harry Potter fan fiction, Burble, Chortle, Gimble and the Gallant. All are very useful to pull us into a rabbit hole ourselves. I hope that we were able to pull you into a rabbit hole. And if you would like to fall into a blank rabbit hole, do follow us on our socials. We post regularly on Instagram, YouTube and on medium.com.